Guardian Druid is a shape-shifting, leather-wearing tank specialization that has come all the way from classic WoW. And today I'm going to show you, as a beginner, how you can jump into the driving seat and become a master of Guardian Druid. Now, this is a beginner guide, so there is going to be absolutely no information overload, but I am going to give you all the information you need to succeed. And we're going to start off with our stat priority. So you are a beginner, so don't worry too much about these secondary stats. We are going to mostly be focusing on getting eye level upgrades over everything else, first and foremost. But if you are interested in the secondary stats and which order you should try and get them in, this is my stat priority pyramid, as I like to call it. And as with the food pyramid, you may be more familiar with, the biggest bottom bit of the pyramid is what we're going to want the most of, and that is going to be versatility. For Guardian Druids in 10.2. Then we're going to want haste, then mastery, and the least amount of critical strike. But again, don't worry too much about that, because you should, as a beginner, be more focusing on eye level. This here is the beginner build that I recommend, and again, I'm not going to go through all of each individual talents. I do recommend that after this guide, or when you're more comfortable with the entire specialization and have had some practice, that you do look through both your spellbook and your talent tree to see how everything slots together perfectly like one big juicy old jigsaw puzzle. There is, of course, a import string down below so that you can import this talent tree straight into your game with no extra hassle. Before we get into the rotation, which is of course the bit we're all most excited for, let's go through some cooldowns and utilities that we have at our disposal for Guardian Druids in 10.2. First of all, at the top here, we've got Bark Skin. This is going to reduce your damage taken and increase your healing received. So this is a super duper thumbs up defensive for this one. Then we've got Renewal. It's quite simply going to heal you for 30% of your health. Then we've got Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc. This is an upgrade to Berserk, and it's going to increase your max health, cause Mangle to do AoE. It's going to give Berserk as well. This does like a million different things, and it's just like a really hyped up cooldown that we can use. And that's the same with our next one, which is Rage of the Sleeper. Rage of the Sleeper is going to increase damage done, it's going to lower damage taken, it's going to give leech, and it's going to reflect some of the damage back to your attacker. And also, Rage of the Sleeper is what is going to be revolving around your set piece, or more so, sorry, the set piece is going to revolve around Rage of the Sleeper in 10.2 Season 3. So that is one of the most important cooldowns that we have, and we're going to be wanting to make sure we're using that cooldown as much as possible. And last but not least, we've got Survival Instincts, which is quite simply a really basic defensive that is going to reduce your damage taken by 50%. Then we've got the utilities, which pretty much are the same no matter what spec you're in. As a Druid, Ursol's Vortex, you can place this wherever you want, and anything that enters it is going to be slowed. The first enemy to try and exit the Vortex is going to get pulled back in. Next up, we've got Innovate. You can put this on a healer so that they can have mana-free casts for a few seconds. Very, very useful. If you're raiding, you may even be asked by your raid leader to use this at certain times or who to put this on. And then you've got Dash. This is a personal speed buff for you. Typhoon is literally going to knock back enemies in front of you, so it's going to push them away. Entangling Roots is going to entangle them in some roots and root them in place. This is interrupted by damage, however. It's the one thing that drives me crazy as a Druid when I'm in Mythic Plus, and I want to root things in place on certain bosses, and then someone does one tiny bit of damage and it breaks the CC, and I have to keep reapplying it. It drives me crazy. I really wish they would make it so it wasn't like that, but here we go. And then Stampeding Roar is the same as Dash, but it's going to apply to the entire party. So now we're in game. I'm going to show you the rotation and a few things here on the UI to note first. One is this weak aura I've got. Now, you don't need this, but this is going to be linked in the description below, and I find it incredibly useful myself to use this. So as a Guardian Druid, our main resource is called Rage. And if we go to the target dummy here, we can see we are actually generating some rage here, and we have things like Thrash at number 1 on the action bar. So we're going to start looking through the action bars now. You can see on the tooltip of Thrash, it's going to generate 5 rage. So to put it really simply, we've got some basic attacks that are going to generate rage, and then we're going to have a few attacks where we're going to want to dump our rage into. So going through the abilities we have here, we have Thrash, which is going to strike all nearby enemies. So it's going to cleave, and this is going to do a bleed damage, and it can stack. It's also going to generate 5 rage. Then we have Mangle. This is going to do some damage, and it's also going to deal 20% additional damage if the target is bleeding. We've got Moonfire, which is an arcane spell, which is going to do some damage and a dot or damage over time. Keep this up at all times. You can then see here that our Maul and Raise have actually got a proc on them, and that is this one here that you can see, and this talent is called Tooth and Claw. Your auto attacks have a 20% chance to empower your next Maul or Raise, and that can stack up to 2 times. An empowered cast of Maul or Raise deals 40% increased damage, costs 100% less rage, and reduces the target's damage to you by 15%. So going into Maul and Raise, to put it really, really simply, Maul is going to be an attack that we're going to use for single target, and then Raise is going to be one that we're going to use for AoE or cleaving. So just to go over these again, we've got Thrash, which is going to do a bleed. Your Mangle is actually going to do more damage if there's a bleed, and we're going to use these in this order. This is basically the priority we're following here. Moonfire, keep it up at all times. You can use Maul for single target, especially when it's got a proc, and Raise for AoE. The last one we've got here, which is Swipe, you're basically going to press this as your filler, i.e. if you've got nothing else to do or press, use Swipe. This is also going to do a cleave on this one here. Ignore that big green bear, that's my trinket, that's nothing to do with the class. And then we've got Iron Fur. So when we're spending rage, we're basically going to spend it on Iron Fur as a defensive rage spender or rage dumper. This is going to increase our armor for a certain amount of seconds, and this can stack. And when I say it can stack, it's not like when you stack it, it reapplies it at the same duration. It's almost like a stare effect like this. So you use Iron Fur, and this is my hand is the duration, and then you stack the next one, which is kind of here. So when that one actually falls off, you then only have, like, say, 2 seconds left on this one, rather than it reapplying at the same duration. I don't know if that's explained very well. I'm hoping it is. But yeah, so it's not stacking and reapplying. It's just kind of stacking them with their own durations. And then offensively, when we're going to use Rage, is on our Maul or our Raise. And these are going to use 40 Rage each when they're actually, they don't have that Tooth and Claw proc on them. So again, Thrash, Mangle, Moonfire, Maul and Raise are our single target and AoE rage spenders, or free when you've got a proc. Swipe is going to be I've got nothing else to do, and Iron Fur is your defensive rage spender. All tanks, of course, have a taunt, and for ours it is Growl. As a tank, we are wanting everything to usually attack us, and Growl on an 8-second cooldown is going to command the target to attack you. We do have another talent up here, Dream of Cenarius. When you take non-periodic damage, you have a chance equal to your crit to cause your next regrowth to heal for 200% more, be instant, free, and castable in all forms, including bear form. Okay? If you don't know what regrowth is, that is number 9 here on our action bar. And this is a single target heal. Usually, you will come out of bear form to cast this. However, when that, what's it called? Dream of Cenarius talent procs, you will be able to use your regrowth enhanced in all forms, and you can use this on yourself or another member of your party, remember. Next down here, we've got Rage of the Sleeper. This is the talent, the cooldown that we were talking about with the set pieces. And you're going to basically, when you're in this Rage of the Sleeper window, you're going to want to dump as much rage as possible. So the tier set bonus in Season 3 revolves completely around this cooldown. It's going to fuel a big shield, reducing damage taken and the damage you actually do to mobs as well. So this season isn't going to be fundamentally changed by this set piece and this cooldown, but you are going to want to be basically putting as many mauls into the cooldown window as possible to get the best effect from this. Then we have Frenzied Regeneration. This is a minor cooldown that I didn't mention previously, and this is going to heal you for 32% health over 3 seconds and increase healing received. You've got 2 charges of this, and if you're going to be at low health, as in you know that in a second something's going to really hurt you and you're going to go to low health, or you're already at low health, that's when you're going to use your frenzied regeneration. Then last but not least, we've got the things that we've already been through. Renewal, healing you. Bark Skin, of course, another cooldown. We've also got Survival Instincts, another defensive cooldown. Your Dash, which will put you into cat form for that movement speed increase, so be careful of that. And then Incarnation Guardian of Ursoc, you can use this on cooldown, which is an improved bear form that grants the benefits of Berserk, causes your Mangle, which is this one here, to hit up to 3 targets and increases your maximum health by 30%. This is going to last 30 seconds, and you can freely shapeshift in and out of this improved bear form for its duration. Now, the talent build we have taken here is a little bit more suited towards Mythic Plus, but as a beginner, this is going to be an all-round really good spec that you've got here. And there is one other talent I really want to mention to you, and that is going to be Ursoc's Fury here. Now, Thrash and Maul are also going to grant you an Absorb shield for 45% of the damage done, and I just want you to be really, really aware of that. There's also this here, which you could be aware of, which is Vicious Cycle. Mangle increases the damage of your next Maul or Raise, and casting Maul or Raise increases the damage of your next Mangle by 15%. So you can kind of cycle those, but with the rotation I've already shown you, you're basically going to be doing that anyway, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Same goes with Fawns of Iron here, which is when you cast Iron Fur, you also are going to deal damage equal to 20% of your armor, split among enemies. And then again, you know, you've got all the other talents in here, which again, I would say to look at once you're more comfortable. But those are just some of the core ones that I think you should be at least aware of. But generally, with that rotation that I have just shown you, you are going to pretty much be doing all of these things anyway. This is my first tank guide. If you are new to tanking, join my Discord below because we have a lot of other tanks in there who are really, really good, very experienced and can give you advice, etc. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. And don't forget to check out my other class guide videos for 10.2 Season 3 of Dragonflight.